With the many stories and vast lore of the Legend of Zelda, one story, one hero, stands among the most beloved and famous. That is the story of the boy who fought across time to bring peace to Hyrule in many an age. The story of the Hero of Time. He who braved many trials as both a child and as an adult, using the Ocarina of Time and the Master Sword to defeat the great king of evil, Ganondorf. However, as adored and paramount the tale of the Hero of Time is, it is a story that is truly left unfinished. Across the histories of Hyrule in its many forms, various legends are spread across the land of the battle across time and the deeds of this prime hero, yet his true fate beyond that of a mysterious disappearance and return to a harrowing form with little to herald of his final destiny. Whatever happened to Link, the Hero of Time? To understand the truth of what became of the Hero of Time, we must look back into the humble origins of the character and how his actions helped shape the Legend of Zelda series to what it is today. After the events of the Hyrulean Civil War, a wounded Hylian mother carried her child to the forbidden forest of the Kokiri, where she entrusted her baby to the great Deku Tree, who could sense that this boy was a child of destiny, someone who would shape the world with his actions. After the mother passed, the Hylian boy was raised as a Kokiri within the forest and was named Link. After spending all of his life without a fairy companion known to the Kokiri, the dark clouds started to swirl, and the actions of the demon thief Ganondorf started to turn the wheels of fate. After meeting with Navi, Link began his journey to save Hyrule. After meeting with the Princess Zelda and acquiring the 3 spiritual stones of Forest, Fire, and Water, he was instructed to open the door of time within the Temple of Time in order to get to the Sacred Realm and protect the Triforce from Ganondorf. However, instead of making his way to the Sacred Realm, he was greeted with the Blade of Evil's Bane, the Master Sword. Upon grasping the sword, Link's spirit was sealed within the Temple of Light in the Sacred Realm, specifically the Chamber of Sages. When he woke up, Link was greeted by Raeru, the ancient sage of light, and learned the reality of his situation. He is now 7 years older, and along with becoming an adult, the world around him has also changed, where Ganondorf claimed the Triforce of Power, conquered Hyrule, and became the great king of evil. With the Master Sword in hand, Link is informed of his destiny and is granted the title of the Hero of Time. Thanks to his efforts across time, Link was able to overcome various trials and many battles across 2 moments of time in his life, as a child and as an adult. By awakening the 6 sages and reuniting with Zelda, who now bears the Triforce of Wisdom, and discovering that the Triforce of Courage resided within him, the final battle with Ganondorf for the fate of the world was at hand. The battle for the Triforce was imminent. Link made his way to Ganon's tower. In the clash, Ganondorf transformed into the fearsome beast Ganon and battled Link. In the outcome, Link was victorious against Ganon, and together with Zelda and the 6 sages, sealed Ganondorf within the Sacred Realm, along with the Triforce of Power. With the battle won, Zelda elected to send Link back into the past in order to reclaim his lost childhood. Upon returning to the Temple of Time and setting the Master Sword to rest, Link decided to continue his life as a child. Now that we know the story of the Hero of Time's life into the ending of Ocarina of Time, we must talk about the truth of the outcome of the final battle in order to understand what happened to the Hero of Time in various timelines. When it comes to the crystal of clear histories relating to the Hero of Time, the adult timeline is among the most concise to what became of Link after the events of Ocarina of Time. With Ganon defeated and Ganondorf sealed, Zelda elected to send Link back into the past to before the time of Hyrule's initial fall in order for Link to reclaim the childhood he never had at that point. This has heavy implications, as Link did return to the past to live out his life. Returning him to that point in time led him to alter the course of an established history he left behind, electing to warn Zelda and the royal family of Ganondorf's incoming treason. By doing so, the combination of events led him to be completely erased from the timeline where he was an adult and defeated Ganon, thus being dubbed the Adult Timeline. This timeline continued without Link, and eventually led to the events of the Wind Waker, which, in the Hero of Time's absence, Ganondorf returned and plagued the land, leading to the gods to seal and flood Hyrule to keep it out of Ganondorf's clutches. And the spirit of the hero became reincarnated as the Hero of Winds, the Link of the Wind Waker. Although the events of the Wind Waker were indeed filled with sadness and a dark history, it is completely clear what became of the Hero of Time in that course of history, the Adult Timeline. In an alternate scenario of the final battle between the Hero of Time and Ganon, Link was defeated and Ganon was successful in completing the Triforce. In an act of desperation, Zelda and the Six Sages sealed Ganon and the complete Triforce away in the Sacred Realm for a time. After a brief time of peace, the imprisoning war would soon follow, setting up the events of A Link to the Past. This dark timeline would become known as the Downfall Timeline, as the decline of Hyrule was imminent and would soon be spread across the years following the defeat of the Hero of Time. With the Adult and Downfall timelines complete with the knowledge of the fate of the whereabouts of the Hero of Time, the most perplexing is the last of the three, the history in which he reclaimed his time as a youth and embarked on an ambitious personal quest where the mysteries of it set up grand events to follow, the Child Timeline. This is the timeline we must look at when it comes to the mystery of his true fate in living his life. Here, in this existence of Hyrule, Zelda sent Link back into the past from a horrid future that Ganondorf controlled after their victory in order to reclaim his lost childhood. While this had the best of intentions, it had an extreme amount of consequences that reverberates throughout the entirety of creation. By sending Link back into the past before Ganondorf initiated his attack on the kingdom, Link's knowledge and actions thereafter causes the true timeline split in separating the events of Child Link's actions and Adult Link's actions. Here Link, still with the Triforce of Courage in his possession, approaches Princess Zelda and the King of Hyrule using the relic as proof to inform them of the possible dark future. With Link's warning, Ganondorf's malicious intent was intercepted before it could get off the ground, and he was captured, put on trial, and eventually sentenced to be executed. It was during this time that Link also decided to go on a personal quest within the Lost Woods, a quest in order to find a friend that went missing after Ocarina of Time, his fairy partner Navi. Before his quest began, Princess Zelda gave him her blessing while also entrusting him with the Ocarina of Time, both as a memento of the times they spent together while also making sure that the royal family's treasure is away in safe hands as they dealt with Ganondorf. The Hero of Time then ventures out into a deep grove of the Lost Woods in search of Navi with his faithful horse Epona. It is here where Link reunites with the Skull Kid and the Happy Mask Salesman from his adventures in Ocarina of Time, and comes into contact with Tattle, Tail, as well as the Majora's Mask and the world of Termina. With 3 days before the destruction of the world due to a fallen moon, Link used the skills he gained in Ocarina of Time and the power of masks in time itself to prevent this catastrophe. In a race against time, Link was able to prevent the cursed moon from destroying the land and gain the support of the people of Termina. In the dawn of the new day, Link set off once again to resume his quest in finding Navi after bidding farewell to his friends and companions. As he set off, this is the last time we see the Hero of Time in his living form. The mystery of his fate truly begins here. Many years later, a new Link walks Hyrule, as well as an incoming darkness. In the events of Twilight Princess, the Twilight invasion occurs that throws the land of Hyrule into chaos, and also begins this new Link's path to hero. As it turns out, this Link is a descendant of the Hero of Time, a hero that was forgotten 2 times in this timeline. The hero of Twilight Princess eventually comes into contact with an ominous yet familiar figure, an entity known as the Hero Shade. Throughout the events of the game, the Hero Shade teaches Link various hidden sword techniques in order to pass down his knowledge and legacy to a newer generation. It is in this that we learn the truth of the Hero Shade and his sorrow. The Hero Shade is in truth the Hero of Time, the ancestor to the hero Link from Twilight Princess. However, in this existence, the Hero of Time is now a virtuous and heroic specter, filled with the regret that his knowledge of the blade was never passed down and that his deeds in saving Hyrule and Termina never recorded in history, due to the implications of his actions that led to the existence of the child timeline. As the Hero Shade continued his final quest in teaching his descendant the skills needed to be a true hero, as well as releasing his regret, he leaves the Link of Twilight Princess with the words of, "Go and do not falter, my child," as he seemingly passes on and brings a close to the tale of the Hero of Time. While the story truly seems to end here, the whole story in itself has yet to be truly revealed. Now that his identity and his appearances throughout time established, there is a blank period between the events of the end of Majora's Mask and the introduction of the Hero Shade in Twilight Princess. What happened to the Hero of Time during that blank point, and what missions did he take upon himself to upkeep the peace of Hyrule in his own way? There are many theories and points of speculation for this point blanketed in time. Some say that the Hero of Time lost his way in the Lost Woods, attempting to return to Hyrule from Termina, that his lonely death as a child reflected how he viewed himself inside and how he hoped to be viewed by the people, manifesting as the Hero Shade, a skeletal specter in armor forgotten to time. Other whispers claim that the hero remained behind the scenes within the dark corners of history to upkeep the prosperity in Hyrule, continuing a vigil left to him by Zelda before he left on his own quest to find Navi. In this understanding, he continued to keep the Ocarina of Time out of the reach of man, with the mystical treasure never to be seen or heard of again. As with this burden, any claim to fame or revelation of his existence would lead to the coveting of the Ocarina once again, truly being a catalyst for regret. There is also the idea that knowing that Ganondorf still lived in some form led the Hero of Time to take a journey of precaution that will aim to set up the next hero after him, as there is the existence of the legends tied to the Master Sword that dictate a hero before him, there will be a hero after him. In that effect, he took various measures that would aid the hero of Twilight Princess, his descendant, in more ways than one, while also effectively remaining in the shadows. It is incredibly implied that the Skull Kid in Twilight Princess is actually the same Skull Kid from Ocarina of Time, the very same Skull Kid that Link played Saria's song with and befriended at the end of Majora's Mask. With this connection to the mysterious imp, Link may have tasked the Skull Kid in being the last remaining guardian to the Master Sword, should all others be accounted for, to guide the next hero to the blade when he needed it. Another measure taken was the Hero of Time may have been the one that put together an early version of the resistance group that would become the group of vigilantes seen in Twilight Princess. Knowing that an era of peace would lead to Hyrule's guard being absorbed in this hubris, the Hero of Time would need a group born from the shadows that he had to remain in to keep watch and stay alert for the sake of Hyrule should anything happen and the soldiers wouldn't be up to the call. This could include original members like Ashi's father, who was a knight of Hyrule, a young Aru who was a close confidant of the royal family in order to have the means and information to keep Hyrule safe in other ways rather than relying on Hyrule's army. While all these efforts would indeed be commendable, these movements would need a vow of silence in order for them to truly be effective, which in turn can act as a powerful seed for regret and dismay that would lead to the birth of the Hero Shade after his final passing. However, this will also lead to the birth of the White Wolf, due to the supposed actions of working together with various factions to set up the success of the hero of Twilight Princess, as shown by his various locations inside and outside the dreamscape of Hyrule. Lastly, leading to the idea of giving all that he had to watch over Hyrule, including that of his right eye, truly becoming the watchful eye of Hyrule. In closing, once these efforts have been put into place, the Hero of Time would have to leave Hyrule for the better in lasting preparation of what could come next, effectively keeping both the Ocarina of Time and the Triforce of Courage out of the Hylian Eye. He would then settle in a small community outside of his homeland, known as Orden Village. There, the Hero of Time would sire a lineage that would lead to a generation or two after him, resulting in the birth of Link from Twilight Princess. This proposition would effectively explain some key underlying factors. This may explain the idea of Russell and his connection to the Hero of Time, possibly having their families being longtime friends, which would lead us to believe that Link would teach members of Russell's past family swordplay, effectively passing down some familiar elements to the Link of Twilight Princess, as well as granting the family connections to the Resistance, leading to Russell's inclusion to the group. Finally, knowing that the Hero of Time would remain in Orden for the rest of his days, and that the Triforce of Courage would stay within his family, the Old Gods would dispatch a fourth light spirit to the land outside of Hyrule, and this spirit will become known as Ordana, who is outside of the three light spirits of legend, Faron, Eldin, and Lanayru. While the question may never have been answered, this conundrum is definitely one of the most mystifying legends within the Legend of Zelda. Whatever happened to the Hero of Time?